Hi everyone, this is Amy at Amy Joy Studios, and I wanted to share with you some tips and tricks on using your intricate metal dies in your die machine. So here's an example of one of the intricate die cuts that I have recently made, and I just wanted to show you how worth it is to get through this process from the beginning of the video, because it can be a little bit tedious to work with these dies, and I purposely picked out my most difficult die. So this is a Spellbinders die, and here are some die cuts that I have made with it today. And I like folding these in half and using them as little pocket or tuck spots in the journal. And now what I have done is just set up my evolution machine. It's pretty similar to a Big Shot or a Big Kick. Now I'm just showing you the base plate, which I have accidentally cut into before. I just wanted to show you that that can happen. Here is a Sizzix extra plate that I bought. I wanted to get a couple of their clear plastic plates. Now I'm just putting the cardstock down and lining everything up, and one of the reasons that I have the cuts in that big base plate is because when I get into kind of a die cutting zone, I'm dealing with lots of different materials and dies, and sometimes I mix up where everything should go in the sandwich. So I'm trying to be more mindful of that. So what I'm doing right now is I put a couple of pieces of washi tape down to secure the die to the cardstock. And as you can see, it's cutting side down. And so I want to put my protecting plate facing the cutting side of the die. So the plate that you reserve for cutting into. And now I'm just running it through the evolution. And you do have to put definitely some elbow grease into doing that, especially with the intricate dies. I've noticed that when it runs over the die in particular, it can be, you have to put some muscle into it. And then you'll usually hear like a slight crack or snap sound when it's finished going through that die. Sorry about the wiggling around with the camera. So now I'm just going to set the die machine aside. So here is my cut cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and pop out the circle part of it, and now we're going to get to the really intricate part. So what I usually do with these thin metal dies is I go around and just kind of flop it and bend it slightly all around, and that can kind of shake loose some of the little intricate parts. So I'm going to use a couple of tools, and there are many different tools out there that you can use. But what I'm going to use today are a couple of things that I already had on hand. So you can see I just have a plain old toothbrush, and then I'm using an awl to go around and just carefully poke through each little window. Some are smaller than others, but luckily the awl is like a really strong needle, so it can even get through those teeny tiny little holes that you find in the wafer dies. And so I just go around and make sure that I get each and every one of those spots. And this is the part that can be frustrating. I do find it actually almost like meditation, though. I kind of get into it, and people have talked about like knitting is that way for them. That's how I kind of find this process, and I know when I'm going to use one of these trickier dies, I just have to commit to it. So here's where the toothbrush comes in, And since it's on cardstock, a little bit heavier weight cardstock, that toothbrush, I can run it pretty roughly over there and pick up any of those extra spots that didn't get all the way pushed out. And then I just proceed to keep going around the die. And I don't know how many tiny little holes there are in this die, but I would guess at least 100, maybe even 200. So I speed up this part of it for you guys, just so you don't have to go through it. But in real time, it probably takes me a good 10 minutes to get this die to be all the way cut. And the tricky part about this die is that this very thin edge is where you have to pull out the die, and this is where I can run into trouble sometimes. It can tear the paper around those really thin, delicate edges. And so once again, I'm just carefully poking through certain areas that did not get pushed all the way through with the awl. And another helpful tip is to place the die back into your machine and run it through again. And you can line up your paper again with the washi tape, making sure that it stays secure. And you can pretty much line it up exactly. You just take the paper and take it right to the edge, and you'll see exactly where those marks are. And now I'm just cleaning the die. I try to do this each time I use it so that when I sit back down to use it the next time, I'm not sitting down with a bunch of messy dies. So I just pretty much do the same process with those tiny little holes. Those are meant for embossing the die, so sometimes they pick up a little bit of paper, and so I just go around and make sure that each little part is clean, and then I flip the die around to double check, and that'll when I hold it under the light, I can see and make sure that each piece of paper is really out of there. So anyway, you guys, I hope this has been a helpful video for you. I would definitely love to share some more tips and tricks on using your dies, as I'm learning a lot ever since getting my first die cut machine. And I hope you're having a wonderful and crafty day, and I will see you soon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.